Thanks for tuning in, folks, to the daily space weather. We're looking at the sun in 193 angstroms. We saw a very large earthquake strike the Caribbean yesterday. Sunspot 2755 degrades, 2757 rather degrades, and lots more stuff to cover. Let's zoom in on that sunspot first. We also see a collapsing filament in the northeast. We'll show you in a minute. We've made a custom video for it. And the South Pole coronal hole is looking large, and indeed it is, in charge. Here's a 304 angstroms view, and you see that filament collapse. It looks like it may be ejected into space, but I'm here to tell you that it's not, and we'll show you how I know in a minute. And there's the equatorial region, sunspot 2757. This active region down here is not a sunspot. And again, sunspot 2757 has degraded to an alpha class, as we only see one polarity umbra associated with its activity. Here's the South Pole region. And let's go to HelioViewer real quick. Look at the fields. And there are the fields on HelioViewer faded to 171 angstroms. Again, there's only one umbra associated with that sunspot now. Could be the last sunspot of cycle 24. Spaceweather.com agrees. And here's this video from HelioViewer of this collapsing filament. I'll just let that play for you there. And you can see the filament is suspended, and then it looks like it's raining back down onto the chromosphere. Not particularly ejecting out into space. A tiny little portion of it may have. Hey, it's only a plasma filament about a dozen times the diameter of the Earth. No big deal, right? Let's go to some more data like the X-ray flux. It did come off the ground a little bit. We saw some B-class flaring there. Very light flaring. So keep an eye on those active regions. 10.7 centimeter radial flux still at 74 last I checked. Off of the solar minimum conditions and approaching that 80 line. It's a good thing, folks. Planetary K index at 2. And we are seeing an enhanced solar wind stream. Looks like a coronal hole wind stream now. And if that coronal mass ejection did hit us yesterday, it was pretty weak. So a bit of a stealthy coronal mass ejection there. There's the solar wind data from ACE. Let's go to the real-time solar wind from Discover. Phi angle currently around 300 degrees. And this looks like a coronal hole wind stream here, folks, as we see the solar wind density dropping down at the same time as the velocity is going up. So 4.20 is the current solar wind density. Current solar wind speed 431 kilometers a second. It did reach a peak of just under 500, it looks like there, around 490 kilometers a second. Now ramping down already. So, looking like a coronal hole wind stream, folks. Here's the geospace magnetosphere movie that we show daily, since you can't access the old data yet. So there's 4 hours of data, magnetosphere movie. And we see some fairly anomalously shaped magnetohydrodynamic pressure there. Let's look at the ground geospace magnetic perturbations. And we're going to look at the poles first, as we do see some apparent induced current, at least some magnetism. So the main perturbations here are over the Canadian North Pole as opposed to the Siberian one. And Antarctica is showing kind of a two-lobed situation here. Please leave a comment if you think the South Pole may be splitting into two, similar to the North Pole. And here's the view from the globe. And we see significant magnetic spill out all the way down across the equatorial regions. A result of that enhanced solar wind speed. And we should see these geospace delta B readings drop down throughout the day, as it looks like the solar wind speed is ramping down. Relativistic electrons are quite low, and the greater than or equal to 0.8 mega electron volt electron flux, very, very low. And expect this to come back up to more baseline levels within 48 hours. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere. And just a little side note, folks, if you want to see other data here, click the links below the video. It's the Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. There are also anomaly maps, so you can look at the difference in megahertz from yesterday, percentage difference, megahertz anomaly, and percentage anomaly. We just look at the ionosphere map since we look at it every day. And the anomalies should be evident to us. And this is why you immerse yourself in the data if you want to understand the phenomenon. Sometimes it can actually work. Here's the latest image, and we still do see those continued South Pacific anomalies where it's charging up at nighttime. GOES magnetometer is looking pretty spiky here, and we've got some active regions on the sun facing the Earth right now, so no real surprise there. No significant speed up or slow down of the passing of the current sheet. So you can see the red zone here in which the Earth's field force line, shown in orange, is located, is in the South Pole oriented current sheet, shown here in red. And we're going to see continued spikes in the GOES magnetometer here as this active region moves into the Earth-facing region. We could see some things like X-ray flares coming out of that also. So when I say keep an eye on that area, the pun remains intentional. Here's an article on the Watchers. That's watchers.news. And it's about that 7.7 magnitude earthquake. I didn't hear any reports of tsunamis, although there were some tsunami watches issued. And fortunately, this happened in the ocean. So no reports of any deaths or damage. There's the preliminary tsunami report. Again, I didn't hear any information about tsunamis. I did see videos about how the shaking was felt as far north as Miami. So that is a massive quake, and sparing everybody from the totally devastating damage. It's a good thing that it happened out in the ocean, folks, in that we don't see any tsunamis generated from it. So there's all the information. We left links to the Watchers article, also a great source for this kind of news. If you want to monitor tsunamis yourself, check out tsunami.gov. There's all the information. And we did see another 6 magnitude quake also near Honduras. Let's look at the last 24 hours. As yesterday we saw a lull in earthquakes, and now we see an uptick. So we're just going to scroll up the list. We're only technically going to report deep quakes and those over a 6 magnitude. So there's another deep one in Alaska, in the same spot we've been seeing deep quakes repeatedly. Another candidate for a large quake is Alaska, indeed. And we see some 5 magnitude quakes around the Middle East. Iran, there's a 5.4 at Greece. So a significant volcanic uptick from yesterday. More Aleutian Islands quakes. There's a 5.5 at Chile. There's that 7.7 at Jamaica. So there's going to be aftershock after aftershock on the list. We don't want to spend too much time on it. Sorry for not making a second video yesterday, folks. We just got sidetracked and needed to do other things. Here's a 6.1 at the Cayman Islands. And let's just take a look at that real quick. And there's where that quake struck. Nowhere near the Jamaican quake, really. And let's get back to the list. So anyway, you're going to see many, many aftershocks in the Caribbean. Here's a bit of an odd one in Uganda, located near the African Rift Zone. Please leave a comment if you think Africa is splitting in half. So tons of quakes over the past 24, folks. There's a deep quake at Bolivia, and Western South America is still my favorite place for I guess an 8+ magnitude quake at this point. Here's a deep quake at Russia, 4.7 magnitude at 209 kilometers. And let's move on, as there's lots of stuff to cover yet. Next, we're going to look at the pressure maps here on windy.com. And we're just going to let this advance via the GFS forecast until about 12 noon tomorrow. If you're wondering what time the video was made, it's 4:27 a.m. Do you know where your pressure zones are? And there's where things will be actually at 1400 Universal Time tomorrow. Universal Time, Greenwich Mean Time, Zulu Time, whatever you want to call it. And let's blast through the volcano list. Mount Abico on the list, producing a 14,000-foot ash plume there. Mount Aso, flight level 6,000. Sakurajima, flight level 8,000. Tocono, flight level 7,000. Popocatépetl, back to exploding down in central Mexico near Mexico City. 19,000-foot ash plume there. Mount Sangay, exploding, 20,000-foot plume there. Revenador, exploding, 17,000-foot plume there. Not sure on Sabancaya. Please don't build a campsite on the lower slopes. Nevados de Chilean, volcanic ash eruption detected. Please don't attempt to pole vault. Nevados de Chilean. Update on the coronavirus. Death toll crosses 130, and as U.S. and Japan move to evacuate citizens. We've got a whole section on smAsho.com/forum, so check that out. It's quite an extensive list of articles, as well as information about what coronavirus is. And chances are, if you have a good immune system, you'll probably not even get the sniffles from this. But if you are old or young, or if you have a depleted immune system or terrible nutrition, for instance, this is certainly capable of killing you. I'm not sure if it's a weaponized virus or not, but anyway, check out smAsho.com/forum. Tons of information on there on various things. Here's another human health story about how a single dose of psilocybin, a hallucinogen derived from the psilocin mushroom, can produce anti-anxiety and antidepressant effect that lasts for around 5 years. So the likelihood that your tripping balls helps to cure your psychological issues for an extended period of time, whether you're a cancer patient who has a very bad outlook on survival, or anybody else, perhaps consider going to Denver and tripping balls. As it appears to be quite good for people who have things like STDs. Yeah, people who have STDs and they're depressed about it. People who have PTS. Now, some people call that PTSD. I call it PTS because it's not a disorder. When you're traumatized, your brain does things to prevent future traumas. Let's talk about some of the dumbest ideas ever conceived by mankind: geoengineering and carbon sequestration. Please tell your senator, legislator, governor, or whoever else to stop funding for geoengineering and carbon sequestration projects, as they are some of the dumbest ideas ever conceived by mankind. Talk about bumblebees. Some folks are figuring out what their favorite flowers are. And don't eradicate bumblebees from your yard, folks. Allow their habitats to thrive, as they are important pollinators, just like honeybees. In fact, the entire insect kingdom is super important. So get the hell off of pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides and move into organic, because we're trying to save the planet here, folks. And bees are crucial to that mission. Links to the SciTech Daily article below the video. Let's check lightning strikes. And there's where the lightning's coming down. We use lightningmaps.org, our real-time source for lightning information. Let's look at the U.S. Doppler radar map. Ice storms across Missouri, as well as some heavy rain in southern Arkansas, as snow continues to fall and fall. And let's look at the U.S. water vapor map real quick. And we're actually looking at the Pacific Ocean here instead of the U.S. map. And it's because of this atmospheric river here, which is just starting to strike Washington right now. And this flow across the Pacific Ocean is going to be bringing some moisture. Let's zoom in on this area over in Nevada as we see a very interesting convergence zone, to say the least. Check it, all the turbulence coming down there. We have this direct north to south flow. If you are in the desert in Nevada today, take some photographs of clouds, as there should be some interesting features. Man, check out the Hall current streamers out there. Notice the way we have these streamers that are perpendicular to the mode of travel of the water. That's electricity in the sky, folks. I don't know if you're aware that the Earth's atmosphere is a huge capacitor between space and the lithosphere. And here are the jet streams on nullschool.net. Extreme meridian on jet stream flow once again. A 180-degree bend east of Alaska there. Doubled up jet streams over the North Atlantic. Here's the eastern world. And extreme 180-degree bends in the southern jets as well. Doubled up jet streams in the north, and a generally jacked up jet stream. Did you watch our video about toroid field versus poloid field? Did you press like and subscribe on YouTube? Do you enjoy the content? Are you a science nerd? Have you shared our videos on social media? Have you become a patron? Thanks to our patrons for being assisted and indeed associate producers of the channel. If you haven't become a patron yet, please consider doing so, as we need lots and lots more funding in 2020 to accomplish our goals. Also, if you're considering starting out investing in cryptocurrency, consider doing so via our links below the video, as you're going to get $10 free in cryptocurrency just for using our link to sign up for a free account. And I've got the ability to earn $186 just learning about different cryptocurrencies. So perhaps check out Coinbase. Lots of opportunities to earn free crypto, and indeed $10 in free crypto just for using our link. If you're deciding to check out the speculative investment of cryptocurrency, as I have a small token investment for proof of concept investing, and we do talk economics on the channel on the regs. Next, we're going to have to go political for a quick moment here, as we cover lots of horrifying things on the channel. So welcome to the That is an Ass and That is a Hole in the Ground section, where we intend for our viewers to understand the distinction. Let's talk about the magic socialist, Bernie Sanders, the cartoon of a politician who is about as economically literate as a 5-year-old. My goldfish know much more about economics than Bernie Sanders. And I think it's horrifying that so many people think Bernie is a legit candidate. Bernie's in love with Soviet chandeliers, and Bernie is in love with Soviet-style communist politics. If you think he's a democratic socialist, I don't know what to tell you. Here he is on stage stumping for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Let's talk about my favorite quote ever from Bernie. You don't necessarily need the choice of 23 different underarm spray deodorants or of 18 choices of sneakers while children are hungry in this country. And this is because Bernie believes that capitalism leads to starvation, which is one of the dumbest ideas in U.S. politics. We've left links to the Reason.com article for your reading pleasure. Now, I made a meme about this back in 2016 because I was horrified back then that so many people thought Bernie Sanders has his head any place besides up as you know what. Let me repeat. At the end of the day, you don't necessarily need a choice of 23 underarm spray deodorants or of 18 different pairs of sneakers while children are hungry in this country. Well, when it comes to underarm spray deodorant, economics, the role of government, socialism, sneakers, and nearly everything else Bernie talks about, you need a lot more than deodorant because his ideas stink. So, if you like Bernie, by all means, join the revolution, because nothing is more revolutionary than stumping for Hillary Clinton in 2016. All right, enough of that. Let's move on to the cosmology section, as there's still lots of stuff to talk about. Here's where stuff is located in the solar system, as Venus swings around to the Earth's side of the sun, and so does Mercury. All the other planets are on the other side. There's where things will be in 1 week, God willing. I'm always interested in what's going on over my head, so I use in-the-sky.org. And it's currently 4:38. Do you know where your constellations are? Mars has just risen. If you've got a telescope and a low horizon, go out and photograph it. We'll feature your photo on the channel. Let's talk about Spitzer's infrared images, and they are amazing. See, viewing the universe through radio and infrared and microwave and X-rays and visual light is very interesting, as it shows you a whole realm of space that you may not others see, such as the Helix Nebula, one down which you probably look down a poloidal field. All kinds of supernova remnants, as they're titled, and so on. Let me speed up the scroll a little bit here so we don't make the video too long. We've left links to the article, by the way. The Sombrero Galaxy looking somewhat across the Taurus, the Carina Nebula, the Cat's Paw Nebula, all things warranting future study. So check it out. Spitzer's infrared images are epic. Let's talk about a magnetar. Magnetar IE 1048.1-5937. We've noticed a strange proportionality to the outbursts and its apparent rotation. So perhaps read this article also. There is a sort of a scalar function going on here with the outburst of this magnetar. So perhaps read the article here. This is a phys.org article, I think. Yep, it's a phys.org article about magnetar 1048.1. If you want to study its transients yourself, you want to follow what it's doing, check out the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory. Just hit Control F, type in 1048.1. You'll find the only transient with that title. I know it's super imaginative. Shout out to Gareth about IE 1048.1-5937. Anyway, there are the recent transients from it. If you want to monitor that yourself, again, check out the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory. Thanks, Smash Team, for tuning in. And stay tuned for a couple of bonus features. Did you watch our video about toroidal fields versus poloidal fields? Now, here's one where you're looking at the side of the torus, and you can see the poloidal fields to the left and right, the main jet and the counter jet, and this is massive radio galaxy Cygnus A, otherwise known as 3C405, the one that we're making a shirt of. Here's an image of a torus. I would just note that toroidal motion is the kind of motion that the Earth does, and it is represented by that green, by that blue arrow there. You see the blue arrow? That would be toroidal motion, and the red arrow would be poloidal motion. And the understanding of their relationship is super important in cosmology, and I think it's completely lacking. Let me play you a teaser from our video about a special cosmology segment about toroidal versus poloidal fields. Versus poloidal fields. Probably the most misunderstood thing in current cosmology. Anyway, watch the video. It's only got, I think, 66 views at this point. And no idea why. Let's talk once again about the Solar Orbiter, which is going to be launched on my mom's birthday. What a birthday present for my mom. The Solar Orbiter being launched by the ESA, the European Space Agency. The first launch window shall be on February 7th. Let's hope it gets up there, as the sun's poles are one of the keys to the Rosetta Stone of cosmology, the sun. Now, since standard cosmology does not understand how the sun works in any capacity, believing that it's got a fusion core and that photons are taking millions of years to pass through that it's a ball of gas, and it's all complete nonsense, folks. That's not how the sun works at all. The sun is made of condensed matter, and these things form on ionization and polarization pathways, the same as clouds, planets, and you. So perhaps read the article about ESA's Solar Orbiter here on SciTech Daily. And here's another bonus feature for you. It's a close-up of sunspot 2757. And you can see there are two umbra there near the front. I believe they're the same polarity. You can even see some penumbra, although that thing is degrading. Now an alpha class sunspot. And here's the magnetic fields in colorized magnetogram, courtesy of the SDO. There are the fields, and you can see there's really only one polarity, umbra, there. And let's look at a 48-hour view. And there are the last 48 hours of your local yellow dwarf in 171 angstroms. A little bit of activity rising up there in the northeast around where that plasma filament collapsed. Also keep an eye on the X-ray flux, as we could see some X-rays come out of that active region down there in the southeast. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We are out. Don't forget to stare at the sun. Remember, while you're doing so, don't drink it. If you do, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.